If you go to the government of Israel's website on their view on the lost tribes of Israel and who's from the house of Israel around the world, you'll notice one of the most common names in that report is the Igbo tribe, the Igbo tribe. And these are about, 40 or so million people in Nigeria that self-identify as being Jewish. And now there's, 60 Orthodox communities in there who have converted and are practicing Judaism. And the leader of the Igbo people, ruling over them, is trying to, create an independent Jewish state. And they have a whole Jewish revival going there. It's fascinating. And the government of Israel is loving it and they're supporting it. And Jewish people are making documentaries about it. And it's like the most exciting thing ever. And it's giving people a lot of biblical renewal.
I just had a Lyft driver yesterday telling me about all this, and I was kind of like, all right, what? It's all true. What you're talking about? It's crazy.
So your Lyft driver was Igbo from Nigeria?
I'm so sure that's what he was saying to me. Yeah, all this stuff. He was saying that he said Israel's been supportive.
So anytime I'm in Israel at the Western Wall and I see a Igbo man, I could tell because they're wearing Nigerian outfits, I say, are you Jewish? He's like, yeah, how do you know? And I'm like, bro, bring it in, give me a hug.
No, that's what he said to me. He picked me up at a Jewish community center. He goes, are you Jewish? And I went, yeah. He goes, this place, is this house of worship, or this is what is this place? And I told him what the JC. It's like, it's a community center. They do events. It's about a building community. They do all sorts of. They take people from all races. I said, yeah. He's like, I am from Nigeria. Igbo. He didn't say and when I said Nigerian, he's like, not Nigerian, Igbo. Yeah. Not Nigerian. I am Igbo. I am Jew. And we're trying to do what Israel did. They're supporting us. And he started going on this whole thing.
Yes, because Nigeria is just a name that the British threw on to the amalgamation of a bunch of different tribes there that destabilized the region and led to a genocide and a Holocaust of the Igbo people. When in the 1960s, millions of them were systematically killed and murdered.
Yeah, he told me about that too, but I was running late.
And so it's so this is so relevant because we have such a never again Holocaust theme, but these people had it. But what is mind-boggling to me, which I can't imagine why this is not in the news and not spoken about, is that a large chunk, more than a fourth of the transatlantic slave trade came specifically from this one tribe. So how are we not starting to connect dots and being like, wait a minute, so the tribe in Africa that the government of Israel is fascinated with and enamored by is now the blood of those people flowing through the African American community here, which makes sense to me why they're all being like, we have an Israelite affinity, we're identifying, this is us, we are this. And so I'm like, so yeah, if the DNA of the blood of these people are in them, they have a valid claim to feel and say that. Where it goes wrong then is where spiritual bullies come and hijack that reality into forming cults that create hate and etc. So those are the people I battle. I'm not battling the reality that you could be from the house of Israel because, like I said, the bottle shattered and glass went around the whole world. I'm battling the bullies that are standing in between you and your inheritance, which is the Torah. Because if you really are from the house of Israel, come back towards the Torah. It's perfectly been preserved throughout the exile, which is what guys like Amari Stoudemire did.
Hello, good morning, SM viewers. This is Satellite Media. If you are new to the channel, kindly like, share, subscribe, and please do not forget to hit the notification bell. Looking at this conversation that we just listened to, of course, from Israeli citizens, talking about the origin of the Igbos, the Biafrans in Nigeria, I think it is now abundantly clear that the Igbos are from Israel, of course, from the knowledge of God. Because from the conversation we just listened to, you can clearly see those Israelis acknowledging that if you go to Israeli websites and you are looking for the lost tribe of Israel, the first people that call to mind or the first tribe you see that is prominent in that website is Igbos in Nigeria. And from what you can clearly see, though the Igbos are clearly made it very clear that they are Jew. And apart from that, there are so many other proof that points to that fact that the Igbos originated from Israel. And we recall that sometime in 2016 or so, had a situation where some Israeli scientists came all the way from Israel to Nigeria to conduct a DNA test. Of course, we understand that their major area of the major area where they did that is Newi and some part of Igbo land. So, since some Israeli scientists, physicians, coming all the way from Israel to Nigeria to conduct such tests, of course, It's a clear testimony that the Israelites themselves are aware that they have their brothers here. And I've seen so many videos online where Israeli citizens actually acknowledge that the Igbos are from the same tribe with them. And if you even go to come down here in Nigeria, you see so many archaeological facts that point to that fact that actually this is where the Igbos come from. And if you look at the marginalization of the Igbos in Nigeria, you look at the way Nigerian government treat the Igbos, you understand that it is a semblance of what the Jew go through in the hands of those surrounding enemies in the Middle East. Because I understand that naturally, if you have great destiny, it is always surrounded with adversity and all of that. Because if you look at even the scripture, made it very clear where it said, before me is a virtual door are open before me, but before me is adversities. I think God was talking about Paul. So this is applicable to anyone that have a great destiny. Of course, we understand that even back in Nigeria, that best explains the reason the Igbos are treated with disdain, are treated with all manner of hatred, are marginalized, are suppressed in all fronts. We are seeing play out in every human endeavor in Nigeria, both in the particularly in the political arena, because, and of course, that gave rise to "We Must Go" that is currently happening in Biafra land, a situation where Anena and Kalo, who have risen to the occasion to propagate or rather to demand the freedom of his people, is now in DSS captivity. And again, I think at this point, the government of Nigeria must give priority attention to people who are agitating that they want to go. Because however I look at it, we are seeing serious level of insecurity in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And almost every stakeholder has spoken in that direction that the panacea for peace in that region is to free the man, Nnamdi Kanu. So of course, I'm using this avenue and opportunity to equally admonish federal government to see the freedom of the man, Nnamdi Kanu, because we have seen personalities in Nigeria who have done serious evil to this nation, who the government will use the window of perhaps reintegration of repentant terrorists into the society to let them go. Of course, his regular occurrence is Boko Haram members who often lay down arms according to as government want to make us believe, and they are reintegrated into the society after the de-radicalization process. So if Nnamdi Kanu, who have not been caught with arm, who the only thing he committed is to say, I want my people to go, I want a referendum. And of course, we understand that even here in Nigeria, referendum is entrenched in a UN charter. Of course, self-determination itself is entrenched in a UN charter, which Nigerian government is a signatory to. So to that extent, if someone is coming through the angle of, I want my own sovereign state through referendum, through self-determination, and the person is doing it within the ambits of the law, without wanton destruction of lives and property, that person have not committed any offense, both locally and internationally. So that is why the government must see to the freedom of the man, Nnamdi Kanu, as a panacea for peace in the region. Though Nnamdi Kanu have maintained, even in captivity, that he is committed to freedom of his people, that is committed to referendum, which of course Nigerian government cannot fault. No government. You have equally seen recently how the foreign affairs minister from Russia admonished UN and even countries of the world to going forward to start respecting the issue of self-determination. We understand that once you talk of self-determination, you talk of referendum, globally, the first thing that comes to mind is Biafra. And once you talk of Biafra, of course, the man Nnamdi Kanu epitomized that struggle. So the next thing that comes to mind again is Nnamdi Kanu. So, even back here in Nigeria, we are seeing different stakeholders from different perspectives coming and approaching federal government to seek a solution to how Nnamdi Kanu can be released. We saw the lives of Senator Ina Abaribe leading his colleagues from the eastern part of the country, meeting with the Attorney General of Federation to seek the release of Nnamdi Kanu. We're equally seeing the lives of the minority caucus in the House of Representatives across board, across political divide, across geopolitical zone, both in the south-south, in the southeast, northwest, northeast, southwest, coming together and approaching federal government, admonishing federal government to release the man Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu himself, going by the court of appeal judgment the other time, have set him free because Kenya government collaborated with Nigerian government to adopt him from Kenya to Nigeria. Of course, the court has ruled that he was extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria, as such that the federal government of Nigeria have lost every right to prosecute him and he should be released unconditionally. We are equally seeing UN working group on arbitrary detention of admonishing federal government of Nigeria to release the man Nnamdi Kanu. The federal government has since appealed that case, and Nnamdi Kanu have made it very clear since Justice Omotosho started handling the case that he will soon get freedom. We hope and believe that the man will get justice, because even Nnamdi Kanu have told the whole world the other time that he's ready to remain in detention until there is an impartial judge to adjudicate his case with federal government of Nigeria. Let us hope that justice will be achieved at the end of the day, and let us hope that the government of Nigeria will have courage, will be courageous enough to confront that monster of Nigeria is indefeasible. Nigeria unity cannot be negotiated. Whereas in the mind of Nigerians, there is nothing like unity. Nigeria have already divided in the mind of Nigerians. What we have currently is a coercion by the federal government through the coercive power of the federal government. And the Bible says, can two work together except agree? So if you want Nigerians to work together, you must come through persuasion, through promotion of unity and ideas that can make people work together. We have seen recently how the Igbo Jewish shun enlistment into Nigerian army, a situation that has since made Nigerian army to be worried, particularly top military brass of Igbo extraction moving from state to state in the southeastern part of the country, admonishing people, particularly the youth, to see reason why they should embrace the military and build career in the military. With all the persuasion and all the strategy of government, I don't think I've needed any result, because in the mind of the average Igbo man, he has resisted Nigeria. Thank you very much. This is Satellite Media and I'm Mr. Matu.